your source for news, commentary, discussion, and debate at the intersection of the atheist movement and the LGBT rights movement. This is the Gaytheist Manifesto. Hello, friends, and welcome to this special New Year's monologue edition of the Gaytheist Manifesto. If you're watching on Facebook Live, I hope you're having a good night filled with good friends, good food, and maybe some snuggles, if that's your thing, or at least some good Netflix and coffee or hot chocolate or something. It's almost midnight. Hooray! If you're listening in the podcast feed, I hope your New Year's was fun and safe. I'm about to monologue the fuck out of this episode because I've had some things in my mind when it comes to New Year's and how I see some folks acting about it. And I know some of you really enjoy Firebrand Callie, so strap in because I'm about to bring her out, at least a little bit. So I've read all of the hot takes on the arbitrary nature of New Year's. Yes, we all know that we can make changes in our lives and reflect on our lives any time of the year. Trust me, I get it. And if you're not into New Year's, I'm not here to tell you you're wrong. Personally, I try to be reflective year round, right? I'm always trying to make positive changes in my life. But the whole New Year's thing is just kind of programmed into us from an early age. So I also get the urge to make those sorts of changes or even just be reflective on New Year's. I get it. And for me, it's just kind of another opportunity among many to reflect and make adjustments on my life. But here's the thing. I'm not interested in being the person who's coolly dismissive of other folks' desire to make a change in their lives literally any other time of the year. So why would I suddenly become that person the last week or so of December? Instead of looking down on other people who are seemingly making resolutions they won't follow or being unusually thoughtful or reflective about the past year, why don't we work on lifting those people up? Maybe part of the reason people don't stick with their New Year's resolutions is because so many people are so dismissive and cynical about them, maybe. Frankly, at this point, even if I was the kind of person who made specific New Year's resolutions, I'd probably hesitate to share them with other people to avoid the whole, herder, you've got 365 days a year to make a change, just do it now kind of attitude. And I get it, right? Those people aren't wrong, but some folks are trying now, so why don't we also pick now as the time to be supportive, right? So instead of being the cool one on Facebook, slicking your hair back, laughing quietly at all of the sheeple participating in this silly New Year's thing, why not put some fucking skin in the game and step up and support somebody? You see somebody making a New Year's resolution, instead of being the cool guy, try to be the good friend, right? Ask your friend how you can help make this year be the year they actually do the thing, right? So with that out of the way, let's actually talk about New Year's for a few. A few days ago, I posted a status on Facebook asking people to share their hopes and their fears for the new year. And I shouldn't have been surprised given the company that I keep, but the answers I got were incredibly deep and vulnerable and just real, and it was awesome. So it inspired me to try to get as deep and vulnerable as that and write something about what my hopes and fears are for this next year. And for probably obvious reasons, I'm going to go ahead and start with my fears. So first, I just keep dwelling on how amazing 2017 was for me. The outside world is kind of literally on fire at the moment, but speaking just about my own personal life, there's no question this has been my best year, hands down. So my first thing is just am I going to be bummed about what happens in 2018 just by comparison? I'm having trouble thinking of anything that could happen in 2018 that would compare with getting my health in order, getting engaged, getting a vagina, and all the awesome podcast things I've gotten to do, and setting a wedding date. I mean, getting married is going to be really sweet, and I don't mean to downplay that, but in comparison to all that other stuff, I just worry that 2018 might be the year that it all sort of starts to go downhill for me. Another thing I'm kind of anxious about, and I don't know if I'd call it a fear, but I'm definitely anxious about, aside from getting boobs, my transition is pretty much complete. And it's an interesting thing to have that concern out of my mind. since I came out, and even before that, to some degree, my mind was nearly always preoccupied with some part of my transition, right? Plans for surgery, how I was going to pay for surgery, where I was going to go, thinking about how it was going to alleviate my dysphoria, my progress on hormones, getting legal documents changed, and so on and so on and so on. And I don't have quite as much anxiety about my boobs as I used to. So like that part of it's kind of a secondary concern at this point. So transition's not really on my mind so much anymore. This was the year I got almost all the way there. This was the year that stopped being a primary thing for me. So like I have to figure out something else for the rest of my life to be about now. And of course that's a little hyperbole, right? Because I have my activism, I have my life with Celeste, I have my friendships, I have Star Trek, I have Adventure Time, and those are all super valid things for my life to be about. But I keep going back to my more, selfish motivations, the stuff that I'm going to have time for. What am I going to do for me? Before, I didn't really have the luxury of worrying so much about personal development or personal growth that wasn't related to my activism or my relationship. And I didn't have time for any of that. Now I do. So part of it's really exciting, but part of it's scary. Like I kind of have an addictive personality. I tend to go down rabbit holes pretty easily. And this is really helpful in some areas of my life, but it hinders me a lot in others. So that's kind of scary for me. I'm doing voice lessons, so that's something, I guess, but that feels more like an optional just for me sort of thing. It doesn't feel as essential to me as hormones or surgery or anything. That one feels a lot more like something I'm doing on my own terms for myself, so it's sort of framed differently in my head, if that makes any sense. Another fear that I have, frankly, is my emotional and psychological well-being with the shit show that has been the political climate of the last year. It's kind of hard to not be constantly worried about the future, and not just of the world, but just directly myself and the people I love. And of course, I'm sure you know this because you're probably feeling it too. Frankly, my emotional state has been pretty erratic lately. I teeter-totter between the happy, optimistic, loving, and affirming person I want to be and a shell of a fucking human being who finds it difficult to care about much of anything or anyone. Too often lately, I felt like I'm just going through the motions, like I'm just doing things because I'm supposed to be, not because I have any particular want or desire to do them. And those kinds of feelings aren't really new to me, but the frequency I've been feeling them lately is new. It seems to go back and forth like every few days now. And honestly, if it keeps up much longer, I'm probably going to ask my therapist for a referral to a psychiatrist to talk about meds because like I really, really need to even out. I have some career-related fears too, and I need to own my privilege before I say this because I recognize that both in terms of podcasting and in terms of my day job that pays the bills, I'm still pretty damn fortunate to be in the position that I'm in, but I feel kind of stuck. Like, obviously, my ideal situation would be doing podcasting and activism for a living, right? Like, I'd love to make enough money from Patreon to pay the bills or to make enough money editing other podcasts or some combination of all of those things. Shameless plug, by the way, if you're a podcaster, I'd love to edit your show. My rates are reasonable. Wink, wink. But I'm also very comfortable at my day job, like almost too comfortable, I feel like. I'm good at it and people respect me there. But I feel like the more invested I get in that job, the less invested I can be in traveling and doing activism and stuff like that. And part of me feels like I'm approaching a crossroads where I'm going to have to choose to compromise one to give myself more to the other. And being comfortable is awesome. Like the last 2 years have been the first time in my life I've been like really financially stable. I'm not rich, but I'm not struggling. And I know what struggling is like. Like I know what having to overdraw your bank account to buy food is like. It's not something I lived with for a long time, but I was certainly there or like teetering right on the edge of being there. And like, frankly, I like being the kind of comfortable I am now. So like, even if I end up with enough income from freelance podcast editing or Patreon or whatever to pay the bills, there's a lot less stability there. And I'd have to give up at least a measure of the stability I have to gain the freedom that comes with doing the podcasting / activism / freelancing thing. And it's a choice I feel sort of creeping up on me. And honestly, I fear the day that I have to make it, because if it goes wrong, like it compromises my ability to take care of my family, right? It's not just a superficial thing. You know, everyone loves a story where someone leaves a safe life behind to follow their dreams and find success, right? But life's not a fucking movie, because going for it and failing means a serious and probably permanent dent in my ability to take care of myself and my future wife. And it's fucking terrifying to think that I could take that risk and fall flat on my face. But like, decades from now, as an old woman, is the story I want to tell about my life the story where I did the safe thing, was mostly comfortable, but regretted so much what I had the potential to maybe do and didn't? And I say that as if I know the answer to that question, but I don't. And of course, what list of fears would be complete without mentioning the specter of all-out fucking thermonuclear war, because we have a president who apparently thinks that's a great idea, right? And this is something that I really lose sleep over. Like, how many futures is he willing to destroy? And I'm honestly afraid the answer is literally everyone's. But of course, the upshot is if that happens, none of the rest of the shit I worried about before this matters, right? Nervous laugh, ha 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 ha. So with that fun reflection out of the way, let's talk about what I'm hopeful for. And that, my friends, is going to do it for this episode of the Gaytheist Manifesto. No, that's a funny joke. It's funnier when other people are around to laugh at the joke. Maybe you're laughing while listening, I hope. I'm kidding, but only kind of, because, you know, the world might actually explode in 2018. But seriously, I'm getting married, y'all, and that gives me hope. And let me tell you why. Because it's not just the fact that I'm pledging forever to my favorite person in the world. Like, that's pretty awesome in and of itself, to be sure, but so many of the circumstances surrounding our wedding and our engagement are things that constantly gave me hope last year, and I really think will continue to do so into the new year. I've gushed enough about our engagement, so I won't rehash that one, but let's talk about the wedding itself for a second. I posted a status on Facebook just kind of whining about how expensive shit for a wedding is, right? Even for a couple like us who wants basically nothing fancy. We seriously just wanted to party with a bunch of people we love. No worries on fancy food or decorations or expensive dresses or anything like that. Just a big party, lots of people we love. That's all. But just fucking saying the word wedding costs like $5,000, right? So I whined about it on Facebook, like I whine about everything. And within like 2 hours, I had people message me solutions to pretty much all of our problems. So like now we're going to have a super cute wedding in a great setting in the presence of a bunch of our friends and at a budget I feel like is kind of reasonable for that size of gathering. And it's all because of community, right? That's what it comes down to. Community is what gives me hope. Like, I'm into socialism, right? But I don't think 2018 is going to be the year socialism happens. So we're going to have to keep taking care of each other. And it's never enough to solve all the world's problems, because if it was, we'd be there, right? But I really think that you and I, the people around us, will continue to make things better where we're capable of doing so. And honestly, that's not just a hope for me. That's something that I actually feel pretty confident saying will happen because I've seen it. So I hope our wedding goes as smoothly as our engagement did, but fuck it, right? Even if for some reason it doesn't, I'm sure we'll end up with a fun story to tell about it afterwards, right? I'm also hoping in 2018 that we continue the sort of momentum we started with some of the special elections that happened in 2017, because fuck Roy Moore and fuck Robert Marshall and all of the other asshole Republicans who lost to better people this year. I am hoping for a continuous and plentiful stream of conservative tears this year. And I think we're going to get it, assuming the Orange Menace doesn't blow the world up first. Hopeful. We're talking about hopeful things, Callie. Hopeful. Democrats need to flip 24 seats in the House to win control in 2018. Lots of folks think they can do it. And like, I'm not excited about the Democratic Party, right? But like, let's at least get that far so we can avoid Mad Max, okay? I think it can be done. So that's a huge hope for me. Another hope is that I get to find more time for things just for myself. I want to play music again, and I don't even know what that looks like. Do I join a band? Do I learn how to sing and do some solo acoustic stuff? Do I sit in my living room just playing old emo songs, remembering what it was like to be on stage in front of hundreds of people? I don't know. I'm also hoping to make it to more than just atheist conventions this year. It's the 25th anniversary of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, so like getting to Star Trek Las Vegas this year would be pretty badass. Speaking of, on a bit of a superficial note, I really hope Chapter 2 of Star Trek Discovery is good. I kind of started to love that show after the first few episodes, so here's to more accurately spoken Klingon and some totally gay space action. I'm really hoping to be able to find more time to cultivate my friendships this year too. I'm not one of those people with a busyness fetish. Like, I stay ridiculously busy because the stuff I do is super important to me, but I would actually love it if I could accomplish all of the things that I do and still have a shit ton of time left over. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I'm so busy. Look at how awesome and important I am. Like, that's not me. I would really like to just like get all of this done in 4 hours and move on and like play Adventure Time or watch Adventure Time for the rest of the week. But like, we're adults, right? And that's not how the adult world works for most people. So like, I got to figure some shit out. My friends are super important to me, and I'm pretty resolved to find more time to spend with them this year. My friend Eric and I need to go on more road trips and see sweet bands. My friend Jamie and I need to spend more time talking shop about activism and swapping stories. The rest of my old band friends need to have more ridiculous food themed parties like we always used to. Celeste and I need to have our parents and friends over for dinner more often. And Celeste and I need to spend more time snuggling on the couch watching cartoons that make us cry. And lastly, I hope for the strength to continue playing whatever part I play in this community that we've built together over the last few years. We've seen a lot together, right? Not just this year, but in the 3 years or so since the show has been a thing. I'm hoping for the continued courage to send emails and Facebook messages and tweets to potential podcast guests that seem out of reach. I hope for the random messages that you send me at seemingly just the right times that I need it. I'm not going to lie. There have been at least 3 times this show has almost ended. Then something would happen that would give me some kind of visceral reminder of why we do what we do. And I hope we keep getting those. I hope we learn more, we do more, we see more, and help more this year than last year. I hope we laugh and love more this year than we did last year. And I hope Ari and I play some small part in helping you do all of those things in the coming year. So before I go, I want you to know that if you're lost, you're hurting, you're scared, if you feel like no one cares and no one understands, you need to know there's a community out here that loves you, cares for you, knows that you're capable of amazing things and that you are worthy of love. If you're struggling, please don't be afraid to reach out. Until next time, friends, this is the Gaytheist Manifesto.